Hello, so glad you're here today. I am going to be showing you some equipment and materials you would need to decorate cakes. And I have done a couple wedding cakes and a lot of other kind of cakes and some cupcakes for weddings. And this is the wedding season right now, so I decided I would kind of show you some things that I know. I don't know everything about it, and I'm not a professional decorator, but I will show you what I do know. And of course, you know I'm Mary from Mary's Home Sweet Home Creations. So one thing that I have shown before is how to make a cake that is most like a bakery cake, made out of a mix that you buy in the store. So the key to this is that instead of oil, you're going to use butter, and you always add an extra egg, and instead of water, you use milk. And then you get a very rich, yummy cake without a lot of work. But making a cake and icing it for a wedding is a lot of work any way you look at it, because you're trying to do the best job you can for the bride and groom and give them the cake that they have is their heart desire for their wedding. So I posted one picture of the wedding cake that I did do, and it is a 6-layer cake. And it was a lot of work, and I had a friend that came from Arizona, Adele, who helped me. She grew up in her dad's bakery also. So since she bakes a lot and she had some experience, she came up here and helped me out. And we created that wedding cake that you see on my Facebook page. And so I'm going to show you a little bit about what it takes. Once you make the cake and freeze it, that's the best way to store it till you're ready to ice it. You want to wrap it in cellophane once it's cooled off, and usually you do cellophane and foil if it's going to be in the the freezer for a long period of time before you use it. So these layers that I have here were in the freezer. They're thawed out now, but I had them in the fridge to keep them a little bit firmer. They're a little easier to ice that way. So I will show you what those look like. This is a chocolate devil's food made with milk, butter, and the extra egg. And this is just a white cake made the same way. Okay, so that is what I made it out of, the mix. Okay, now the icing I'm going to be putting on here is a cream cheese icing. And I used this recipe for a pumpkin cake squares that I did, and it came out really nice, so I'm going to try to use it on this cake too. And it takes 2 3-ounce packages of cream cheese, a half a cup of softened margarine or butter, like this is a half cup, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla, which I have back here, and 4.5 to 4 3/4 cups of powdered sugar. Okay, so you can use a buttercream recipe, cream cheese, whatever type of icing. Some people are using the fondant. I have not used a lot of fondant. So in this this stand here, this is my turntable for decorating. This plastic dish that it's on is a wedding cake platter. You can find just like the cardboard circles for decorating on, and they make the rectangle for bigger, the sheet cakes. So, but today I just put it on here so you could see it. And then on your, either your cardboard grounds or on this particular platter for a wedding cake, if it was tiered, you can use things like this that I have here. These are doilies. You can either use they make round doilies that are lacy, or these are little hearts. You could put those underneath all the way around. These are little color doilies, and you could use something like that. And for a sheet cake, they make the big rectangle also. This cake over here is the silk cake that I put together after I received a real flower cake. And once those flowers died, I made the silk cake. And this shows you this little lacy edging. You can also get that like in the Michael's or Joann's or any of the craft stores. They carry that. You can get a piece of that and put it around the edge. Or you could find some lace that you have and put around the edge just to make it pretty. Okay. Now this had a styrofoam in it. That's how these are all sitting in there. So that's a fun thing also you could do for a place setting at a wedding is something like that. The little silk flowers in the cake. Or you could put real flowers. Make your own real fresh flower centerpiece like that. So I was going to show you also, there's my powdered sugar, my vanilla and the butter for the icing, and then the cream cheese, which I didn't get out yet. It said 2 3-ounce cream cheese package. This is an 8-ounce, so it's a little more than what we need, but I think it'll work good. I've used it before, just this package, and for the icing. And these are different tubes that you can use for decorating. This is a disposable plastic one that you would fill up. You would put in your tip. These are called tips. And you would put that in. First you cut off a little bit, put it in, make sure that it fits. It can't be so big that icing's going to go through it, but it can't be so tight that it doesn't push the tip down to about right here. You need at least that far. Okay, so that's you have to adjust that. You can keep cutting it, but you can't glue it back on, right? Okay, so these are also disposable ones that you can find. And then there's the canvas kind that usually professional bakers and people that do a lot of decorating will use. And one of these is cut a little bit bigger for the big tips that are made for, you can use them on cakes and things, but a lot of people use them for the cupcakes, the very decorated full cupcake. So, and then the other is the smaller for the regular size tips. Okay. Now you can also use parchment paper to make a tube for, like, I like to use them for like writing on a cake. And you just take a square, fold it in half, then wrap it around your hand. Let's see if I can do that with this. Anyway, you're going to wrap it around. I should have got a piece of paper out. Anyways, it's going to make a cone, and you're going to put the icing inside, and then you're going to just cut a little tip off the end so there's enough icing coming out to write with. So that's the kind I like. But if you look closely at these, which I'm going to try and bring it closer to see, you can see the different size tips here. And the very tiniest ones are for writing. Those on the right side of the screen. And then there's all sorts of different things you can do with them. This package here gives you an idea when you buy it what that tip's going to do. Okay, that's called the ripple tip set. But you can also make roses with the flat ones on the two ends there. So, put your back up there. Don't get sick now. Okay, so this type of tip, where are we? Here we are, is for roses because it's white on one end and thin on the other. And that's the one that you're going to do. You use a rose needle and you go around and around. And this one, these are the bigger tips for the cupcake decorating, or if you want a more chunky decoration. It's not a really fine one. That goes in the big tube that I showed you. And there's several different ones. And this one's just a straight round. This one has some shape to it here. And so you have to kind of try them out, see which ones you like. And practice. The more you practice doing it, the better you get at it, and the more ideas you can think of. So you might put a ripple around, and then take a little small one and put a little dot or star in the center of those. And there's lots of things you can do decorating. So I just wanted to show you the basic stuff that you would need. The equipment and the tools. This is a spatula that I've used for many different purposes. It's really good for getting brownies out of a pan because it's long. You can lift it out. But it's also good for icing. You can ice with this one around the edge. Or I have this one that has kind of a crinkled edge, serrated. You can use that to cut a cake, but also it's good for making those lines around the edges. If you want to make that kind of, if you don't want a flat edge and you just want to have a little bit of ripple in it, that's the side you'd use. And it's really good for a big sheet cake because it's a long one, so you can spread that icing across really easily. Okay. And then this is a smaller one. This one is one you would use for doing the little, maybe just doing the top or one little edge. It's a little bit skinnier, a little bit smaller, but they all come in handy for certain things that you will do. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get the icing ready, and then I will come back to show you what that looks like. Okay, so the cream cheese was all done. You whip the cream cheese, the vanilla, and the butter together first. Then you slowly add in all your powdered sugar, your 4.5 cups. And that's what the cream cheese looks like. Now, you can add color to that if you want to make some color type icing for your cake, but since it's the sour cream, it might, the cream cheese, it might break down a little bit. So it's kind of an off-white. So if you are doing wedding cake, it makes a nice pretty wedding cake. And you can add other color to it with your decorations. So that is the top. I did not cut this one in half. I'm just going to cut the second one in half. And I'm not doing the vanilla today because I don't want the cake that big. I'm not doing a wedding cake, so I just want to give you an idea of what you can do. So the bottom half here, I'm going to put on the second layer on top of that. And you might have a few little crumbs fall off. And it tends to want to move around on this little doily. So you got to adjust as you go and brush off whatever crumbs come off. You can try to put that on after, but you have to be able to lift the whole cake up and do that. So, okay, so then once we have that cut in half, which I used my spatula with the serrated edge to cut that across. And these are pretty level layers because when I fill the pan, I make sure I drop the pan a few times to level out the cake. So if you get your layers leveled and nice, they cut in half really nicely, and then it's easier to ice all the way around because you don't have have to fill in with icing and things. So this one came out pretty level. So I'm going to go ahead and add some cream cheese into the center now. And, oh, there. And then we will spread that around. Okay, so the cream cheese is a little thicker icing than just like a buttercream that you would use. So it's going to pull a little more on your cake. So you could see that some of the chocolate little crumbs get mixed in. But this is the middle of the cake, so it's okay. It's not going to even show. So then we're going to take the second half of that second layer and put it right on top of that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do the very top with the cream cheese, and then I'm going to decorate the sides with maybe a different icing, depending on how much I have left here, because it's taking a little more. So I know that if I was doing a full with another layer, I definitely need to double this cream cheese recipe. So we'll see how far I get at getting it through the top and the sides, and then I'll come back to show you the decorating. Okay, this is the end result of this cake. I ran out of icing, so I needed to double that recipe. But I got enough to go around the sides. And if you have fresh flowers, you could put fresh flowers on here to decorate. I used my silk flowers because I had them handy right here. And so it's really a creative thing depending on what you're making your cake for an occasion, or just for fun, or just for your family. So this particular cake is just for my family to eat. So it's going to taste really yummy because it's got cream cheese icing. Cream cheese icing, usually you would make that on a carrot cake or spice cake, something like that. I just used it today to just show you the recipe because it is a really good one. And it tastes really good because I've had it on the pumpkin squares. And I used some gold sprinkles around the edges that I've used before for cakes, and I used it on a wedding cake too. And So it just depends on how much skill you've developed to ice a cake, and um, making flowers, making the roses, that takes a while to learn how to do. I'm not great at it, but I don't make enough of them to get really good at it. And so even if you're not really good at decorating or you can't make the flowers, you can always add silk flowers or real flowers. Lots of wedding cakes are decorated with real flowers, and lots of occasions for Mother's Day, for birthdays, for different things. So if you use your creativity, and you can make a beautiful cake. Kids love you moms to make their cakes for them. I used to make them for my kids, and they all like certain things. Sometimes they want the really special ones. When they get to the point where they're asking for things that I can do, then I started ordering the cake, because they get particular as they get older about what it looks like. And so sometimes you gotta put out the extra dough to go have somebody make it who has those particular um, little, sometimes they're cartoon characters, or whatever it is they're into at that time. So, but most of the time they liked my cakes until they became teenagers. Then everything changes. So, anyways, I hope you have a beautiful evening, morning, or day whenever you're watching this. And just use your creativity and try it. Try making something that you like, and use your own ideas. Okay, bye bye.